I got familiar with Dilated, I guess, like maybe 2003, 2004, when I was like fresh out of college and shit. When did the group actually first form, though?
We put out singles in 98 and 99.
For real?
Yeah.
Holy shit, okay.
Just on 12-inch Fat Beats.
Right.
And then we got our deal in 2000 on Capitol.
Uh-huh.
And then we did 4 albums.
Right. And so
I think 2004 was our 3rd album. That was the one we were doing. We had a single with Kanye and all that type of stuff.
And that's when all of a sudden, because I was kind of green. I wasn't like really like too up on the underground shit. I was pretty much like G Unit and Dipset.
Yeah.
It's like all I knew at that time, or at least all I was really like focused on. But so okay, like you guys what was your career like prior to getting signed? Were you just like the local like LA fucking hip hop crew that was just sort of doing it? Or?
Yeah, Rocka, my partner, he knew DJ Lethal from House of Pain. They went to high school together.
Okay.
So at first we had a demo. We made a demo, and with QD3, who's Quincy Jones' son, who's my next door neighbor.
Right.
It's crazy. And
Which I just heard that story on Solid Shit.
Yeah, that's how I got into rap, is through him. And through that, we met Lethal. We got a deal. Album got shelved, and then resurfaced through independence back when I said. Prior to that, I wouldn't say we were like going around killing shows and like we had this huge buzz when we first started. That happened when we dropped our independent 12 inches.
Right.
Prior to that, we were kind of like just figuring it out. Where we stood in the industry was uncertain at that point, but we knew we were signed to a platinum group, House of Pain, and Alchemist and Scott were signed to Cypress Hill. You know what I mean? It was like we're in the right place to be. It just wasn't our time yet. But we had like Redman on our album and Exhibit, and it was an all right album. I listened to it and cringed, but the internet seems to like it.
Why do you listen to it and cringe?
Because I didn't know what I was doing yet. There was something in me that people saw, for sure, that made me get to that point. But at that point, I was just emulating. I had no identity, and I was fair weather, meaning whatever I was liking is what I sounded like. So I didn't really come into my own shit till way later, and still evolving today. But that time, it was like, we were kind of trying to go the industry route, really. Like get a demo, get a deal, come out and let the world discover us through another group that already had success. Be like something they show you, And I'm glad it didn't work out because we weren't ready. But when we came back out in 2000, we were more ready. And even to that music, I look back and it's hard for me sometimes, but I love the confidence in that music. Like even when I said a line that didn't age well, I loved how much at the time I thought that line was the shit. Right. You know what I mean? And so like that young confidence and determination bleeded through into success. Like as Dilated, we did good. We weren't like pop, but we sold enough records to keep getting the next deal and recouping and etc. So it was like we were definitely onto something. And then the rest is to be told as far as going solo and what happened after that. Right. But that Kanye time right there was like first time we were ever on 106 in Park, or like doing a Funk Master Flex thing or things like that we had never reached that level of the industry before. That was the song that like put us to that. But in hindsight, that song did more for him than it did for us. You know what I mean? It's still not our biggest record. The single on the album before, Worst Come to Worst, is still our biggest record.
That was definitely the first song I ever heard. Isn't that weird how one hook like that could just become, I mean, the whole song is great and everything, but that hook just stands out to me to a ridiculous level that it's just almost like a career defining sample for the hook there. Yeah,
that shit was crazy. It's not even really a hook. It's funny, just we're scratching a Mobb Deep line over and over, and but that was like the power of like doing it out of format like that. Our label didn't want to make that a single. It was 2.5 minutes and there was no definitive hook, but the thing kept coming back over and over. So we were telling them this is catchy, and eventually it worked. But the hip hop climate at that time was different. What a hit was undefined. Like there were no 2 real hits that sounded the same. There were rap hits, but they were all unique and happened. I wouldn't say they weren't an accident, but there wasn't a real like pattern of a format to go to make a hit record. Right now, a hit record is much more defined, as you can hear it when the beat drops, sometimes before even any vocals, whatever, this is pretty much.
Especially like modern pop music, when you hear it and it just sounds so crazy.
And rap is pop, so there's like, it's been stepped on, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I'm a music producer, so I love to understand, you know what I mean? But it's definitely much more of you could find out what a hit is and do something similar and have a better chance. Whereas then, I think people had bars and then they tried to figure out something catchy to do in between those bars. You know what I mean? And if it worked, then you won. And if it didn't, I don't know. I got to think back to like what the first like record that sound like maybe Nelly, like Country Grammar was maybe like the first record I heard like
shocking.
Like, oh, this is a hit. You know what I mean? Whether I liked it or not, like this is a definitive hit. You know, and like sounded like one. Whereas before, I mean, we could, you know. Hits were weird. Mobb Deep had hits, you know what I mean? Making music that they just make, you know, and yeah, so the climate of the industry was a little different for us at that time. I don't know where I took a left, but.
You spend a lot of time with Everlast?
I do. Not lately so much.
Not lately, but I mean, I'm talking back like early on when you're getting signed and shit, because that must have been a wild ride watching that whole thing happen.
Yeah, we didn't chill with him that much. He was in his prime, living his moment right there.
Right around that time that you guys were coming out, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, we were signed to his DJ Lethal, who went on to do Limp Bizkit after.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we were more like we were around him. I did a song with them back in the day, but it was still like I was still like in awe of people who were stars. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
definitely. Okay, but we were talking about that time period of just like when you guys were coming out. Yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, those songs like that one in particular didn't sound like a super obvious attempt at a hit or anything, but did your mentality start to get a little bit closer to that just because of the pressures from the label? Did you start to sort of change up like the way that you were?
Yeah, that's why we made the Kanye record.
Oh, yeah, but they sort of forced that upon you and told you to get in the studio with him?
Definitely.
But that was when he was still basically just known as a producer.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was just a dope beat maker. He'd done Jay-Z tracks. He did Beanie Siegel tracks. He did a lot of like things that I liked that I felt were like-minded to what Alchemist was doing or other people were doing around me. So when they said, you know, we want you to go back and make a hit or your album is not turned in, there's no single here. And we chose him in the attempt of just making something that's what we felt. But they had been around him, so they knew his mind had already shifted to I'm gonna be a big fucking artist.
Right.
Just I hadn't got the memo yet, but the people at the label knew that shit, and that's why they put us in the room with him. And to their defense, they were very right. You know, he was like something I hadn't seen before.
Really?
Yeah.
He brought a lot to the table.
He just had a real possessed energy.
How'd you meet Alchemist? How early was that?
Alchemist was probably 7th or 8th grade.
Wow.
He was in a graffiti crew I knew that kind of hung out at a certain place on the weekends, maybe like a mall or something like that. So I would see him in passing. And then going out to little clubs back then, I was trying to rap. I think he saw me grab a mic one night, something, and we hooked up, you know, get your number, shit.
Yeah.
I think I could still remember his phone number. But yeah, no, him and Scott Kahn and those dudes became some of my best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And he wasn't Alchemist yet. He was still Mudfoot.
Wow.
That was his name. And he was an ill rapper. You know, people need to know. Al was like kind of the best. In my circle, he had something that was really unique in his rap style.
But I remember when he had like tracks out like not that long ago, right?
No, he still raps.
Yeah,
but I'm saying he was the illest then, is what I mean.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not dissing him now.
Okay, but I haven't heard him rap in a while.
We have a group together, Step Brothers. He amazes me every
yeah.
time he touches the mic. But back then, there was something that was like, it was kind of like he was really, really onto something. And I think after their deal went sour, something happened where he kind of just gave that up and just focused on making the beats. But it's important to know that he could have been like somebody we talk about. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why it's ill when you work with him, because it's one thing if you work with like a rock producer and he's telling the band to do mad shit and they're like, show me what you want, then show me what the fuck you're talking about. And he grabs the guitar and it's like, even if he doesn't play it as good, he's like, I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
Then they're going to go back in and respect him more when he makes his next critique. But Al, you got to keep that in mind. It's like he could really rap. So if he's telling you something while he's producing, it's not coming from a place of ignorance. It's like, I could probably get on the mic and do that, you know, the right way and show you.
Right.
So yeah, just another level of respect for him.
How do you feel like your style has developed and what like the current evolution of your style is? Because I feel like when we do hear your flow, it feels like you've kind of been focused around like a sort of like when you talk about how you used to be like influenced by a lot of other people and stuff, whoever you were listening to would sort of rub off on you. We get the feeling when you listen to your raps now, or even to an extent back then, that it's like almost you're like rapping inside of your own world. Like you don't sound terribly influenced by almost anything else that we really hear in the mainstream for sure, but even in the underground, the current rap climate, like how do you feel like your style has changed, and what are the things that affect that?
I think the main thing was just stop trying to be somebody I'm not. That was the first thing, and that was like a big step for me. I said it on that other interview, if you saw it or not, but you know, my mom passed away, and I tried to make a song for her and put it on the Dilated record, and it just felt weird. And so that told me at that point, I'm not connected enough as an artist to people. I can't even truly say something that I need to say and have my outlet without it coming off as a sore thumb. And so I was like, I need to do solo records for a minute. So when I started doing that, it was a big step out. In my group, Raka has always been known as the spitter, and I've been known as whatever else I've been known for. I think the power of me has always been in my words more than the all the way in the delivery. Like I've had moments where I've really cut through sharp, but then there's other times where I'm like, I'm gonna sacrifice these syllables right now to really get the point across. And or I might even take words out and leave something, so I really can enforce like what I need to say right now. And I think I stopped caring so much about what others thought about me, and started getting rewarded for that at shows. More people showing up, more people seeming to be like having a gravitation towards what I'm putting out now versus the other stuff where I was trying to show people that I was trying to be a good rapper. And you know, I'm signed to Rhyme Sayers, which is Atmosphere and Brother Ali, A$AP Rock, and a lot of people who are super sick, but also known for being super sick live. So going out touring with them for a lot of years definitely like opened me up and made me connect in a different way. And you know, I mean, when we used to really want a girl and I would go at her crazy, she would never fuck with me. And then the second I stopped caring, she started to want to go out with me for some reason. So,
well, that's like kind of a good metaphor for how you rap, or whatever it is that you sort of, the appeal is in that you're not going as crazy on a song as you could. It was interesting to hear Talib talk about how he kind of picked that up from you, because I mean, he is sort of a quintessential like over rapper. Like a lot of people who say that about Eminem, people would say that about him, that it's like there's certain people who are trying to get such a complex idea across that, or I guess with M, it's the actual words that he's bringing together. With Talib, it's like there's something he's trying to say that a lot of times he's not going to be able to necessarily get out in a simple way, right?
your mother never, she was always like, I'm gonna say this one time and I'm gonna say it real fucking slow so you remember it, right? She never was like, go take out the trash real fast for me. You know, I mean, it wasn't, you know, to say something slow and not be able to hide behind anything and just be dog nuts naked when you're rapping is like a skill in itself. You got to understand, it's like you're not hiding behind tricks. There's no time for filler. It's like a setup and a punch.
Yeah.
So if it's not that shit, you're gonna know that like way obvious, you know. And if it is, it's gonna connect. So that style of rhyming to me is way appealing. I could technically rhyme faster if I needed to, but I feel like that's what's putting me from A to B where I need to be right now.
But that's what's interesting. You're like a hip hop classicist for the most part, but then when you look at a lot of like the usual opinions of sort of people who are like hip hop classics driven type people, is that they sort of look down on like Southern rap because it's slow and simple, and they'll like really praise, you know, you constantly still see people discuss hip hop in that super simplistic way of like, oh, he's lyrical, he's technical, and he sucks because he's simple. And that's just kind of
there's a skill set to all of it, man. Like understanding the rhythm of the beat and becoming an instrument is the reason people are having success right now. You know, melody is everything. Simplicity is everything. So I don't knock somebody because they're not as lyrical. I love songs. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a time to be lyrical. I think that's on Sway. I think that's on Funkmaster Flex. That's when somebody calls you out in a battle. That's for that time in your show where the DJ just drops a beat and you go crazy for a minute. There's a lot of them, but if you're carrying over like me trying to show you how good I am in the process of making songs, you're in the wrong room. You know, there's a time for that. And some people, the great ones, do it coincidentally. Those are the ones that are just ill. When big pun, certain people I could talk about, like where they were really going the fuck in, but still making a great, like, relatable line and something you could fuck with is a real crazy skill set. And a lot of new motherfuckers got that. And it's no secret that that's why they're having success.
Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed this throwback clip. If you did, show some support. Like, comment, subscribe, and head on over to nojumper.com if you want to support, or go on over to Snapchat and just search No Jumper. There's a link in the description. We've had our news show dropping a couple times per week, and I swear you're gonna love it. Balling like an athlete, but got no jumper. Appreciate y'all.